Welcome to Transcending the Rabbit Hole. I'm Brandy Anderson. I'm a spiritual director and Jungian coach on an ever-winding contemplative path of becoming. I'm the author of Through the Veil, A Glimpse into the Afterlife, and co-host of Spectral Symposium podcast. I'm joined today by my very good friends and co-hosts, Annelise and Parker Bess. Annelise is a singer-songwriter, sound healer, and spiritual influencer dedicated to raising human consciousness as she shares her awakening journey on TikTok. Parker is a true knowledge seeker and truth bringer in the realm of esoteric wisdom. Parker has a solid understanding of metaphysical concepts with expertise in the shadowy corridors of secret societies, occult knowledge, and ancient aliens and ufology. We invite you to pry open your third eye and journey with us through the cosmic rabbit hole as we alchemize esoteric insights in a quest for ultimate truth.
Falling down the rabbit hole again.
Welcome to another episode of Transcending the Rabbit Hole. With Halloween around the corner, we wanted to step through the veil and talk about what this season really represents. That liminal time when the boundary between the physical and spiritual realm thins, when stories of ghosts, hauntings, and spirit communication all trace back to something deeper, our instinct to connect with what's beyond the visible world. Annelise and Parker, it's a privilege to pierce the veil and transcend this rabbit hole with you guys.
Hey, Brandy. Good to be here.
It's great to be here, Brandy.
Yeah. This is a fun episode, very, very seasonal. And I thought maybe we could kick things off by just maybe sharing our plans for Halloween. Coming from a Christian background, I know some people think it's the devil's holiday and they refuse to celebrate. And others celebrate, but with the fall festivals instead of traditional Halloween type celebrations. So, Annelise, what about you? Have anything planned for Halloween?
Oh, okay. Well, definitely trick-or-treating. I'm going to have to go somewhere new this year because we're out in the country now.
Yeah.
So trying to find a safe place to trick-or-treat, maybe a trunk or treat. We do the fall festival type things. There's something in our community we'll go to. And maybe a couple hay rides, pumpkin picking, that kind of stuff. But this year, I want to do something different. I want to do a Day of the Dead celebration, which coming from, Christian background, that sounds crazy, but I'll get into more of why I want to do that later. But just to honor some family that's passed, especially this year, I lost my grandmother, so I just feel like it's a good year to start that. And but other than that, we don't do too much for it, really. What about you?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be with you. So.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, whatever you just said.
He's like, I'm doing whatever you're doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. What about you, Brandy?
Yeah, for me, it's like, well, the veil between the physical and spiritual realms begins to thin this time of year, right? Every year at the fall equinox, and it becomes whisper thin on All Hallows Eve, which is why the holiday has become to be about ghosts and goblins, that type of thing. So it's a time when spirits are able to manipulate the physical realm more fully. And originally, it was a sacred time, like a time to honor the dead, like what you were just talking about, Annelise. And today, it's mostly reduced to something spooky or scary. I guess it's just highly commercialized. But in keeping with the Celtic tradition of Samhain, I'll be carving a jack-o'-lantern, keeping it lit all night, and then I'll burn a mullein candle to cleanse my property, and I'll build a fire. And because October 31st marks the start of the Celtic New Year, I celebrate by releasing into the fire what's not serving me, as we enter that liminal space of death and rebirth, leading up to the darkest night of the year, which is the winter solstice. Then on November 1st, which is the Day of the Dead, I will be like you. I'll be celebrating those who have crossed. And I like to honor my loved ones on the day with food or meals that they liked, light a candle, thank them for their continued presence in my life. And, All Saints' Day is the Christian rendition of Day of the Dead. So the church basically stole a pagan holiday and revamped it. And a few years ago, I participated in a Holy Eucharist in a cemetery to celebrate All Saints' Day at an Episcopal church that I was attending at the time. So I thought that was really cool that we went out into the cemetery. The homily was preached right there in the middle of the cemetery, because really it's not about being spooky. It's about honoring those who have crossed through the veil before us. And I think it helps to bring into sharper focus the importance of holding space for all souls, both seen and unseen. So, yeah, for me, it's keeping with that Celtic calendar, basically, which just coincides with the natural rhythms of life. So my Halloween will look pretty traditional in that sense.
I'm thinking you get the gold star for the most
Yeah, really.
appropriately celebrated Halloween I've ever heard of.
Well, thank you.
It sounds very sacred and very reflective, and I want to add some of that to my list now. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it took several years for me to kind of iron out a Halloween that I could rest in, and that's where I am with it. The Celtic calendar, following that Celtic calendar just really resonates with me for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm getting into that too since last year.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, like you said, it's commercialized now, Halloween, and it really is like the whole everything's just built off of the candy machine, with the whole goblins and trick or treating and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I guess it was a thinning of the veil that started it, the goblins and the scary stuff. But like you were saying, the Celtic tradition wasn't built off of that. It was more or less about the ending of one season and the rebirth of going into the winter season, not really the rebirth, but going into the winter season.
Yeah.
Brandy, I want to ask you,
Yeah.
does the other side, of the veil confirm that the veil truly is thinner on All Hallows Eve?
They do. They tell me that it is whisper
Wow.
thin on All Hallows Eve.
Wow. And is
And
that
they say,
because of the alignment of the sky and the
yeah,
seasons and
right.
everything like that?
Yes. Yeah, it's because of the sky astrological, I guess, the astrological placement of things at that time of the year. And they tell me to stay home, to
Really?
celebrate at home, stay home, light the jack-o'-lantern, light the fire, do the traditional things because being out and about too much when the veil is thin could be a little dangerous, really.
Well, my mom used to tell me this story when I was little about how Halloween started, and I had no idea if it was true or not. It was my true.
Yeah.
But now that you're saying it, it sounds like it confirms her story. She said it started as where people would wear masks because the veil was thin and you couldn't, they didn't want to be able to be found out that they're not a monster, they're not a demon, they're not a spirit, so they wanted to blend in with the spirits as they're coming on the Hallows Eve, that thin veil day. Is that
Yeah.
about right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think she kind of got it there. I had a
Yeah.
cool mom, even though I was raised in church and we had to go out of town to see Harry Potter when it came out and all that stuff. She let me dress up as Pikachu for the fall festival at church, which was just the Halloween festival,
Yeah.
and I got the dirtiest looks, but she didn't care. She was cool with it.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I love it because it's about just, honoring what's true, really, and seeing things for what they really are. And, I know like coming from an evangelical background, it really shapes how we view the spirit realm in general. And so it's just cool that your mom was open to some of those things and let you experience some of
Yeah.
those things because she could see that they really, there's no evil in it. It just, it's just a different way of, I guess of processing things, of experiencing things. But how do you think that shaped your view of the spirit realm? I mean, coming from that evangelical background, like what was, what was your view of the spirit realm or spirit communication, psychics and mediums, that kind of thing? What, yeah.
Oh, it's all
What?
of the devil, Brandy.
Yes.
Every bit of it was of the
Yeah.
devil. Now,
Yeah.
that was what I was taught in church, not at
Yeah.
home. My mom was cool, but she didn't delve into any conversations on those kind of topics.
Mhm.
But in church, I got the message that anything psychic, spiritual, prophetic, even dreams, and, even though all this kind of stuff is in the Bible, I was taught that's of evil. There's no such thing as a psychic or a witch who's not evil, is how I was taught. And so I've had to do a lot of de-educating and re-educating in the recent years on that. Um, but because I did have parents who were not totally brainwashed, they let us celebrate Halloween. But yeah, the the spiritual realm, it was just don't even touch it because there's dark stuff there, so don't even touch it at all. I was never really taught like, you know, even Jesus consulted spirits. Even Jesus talked to Moses and Elijah at the Transfiguration. Um, and I guess what I've learned is fear shuts the door to mystery. If you're just, don't touch it at all, it's all evil. Rather than, I guess, learning to use discernment. That's what I've learned in my more recent years. is everything is frequency, energy. There's a flow. I know if something's wrong or not, and all spirits are certainly not evil, just like all people are not bad. Um, so I cut myself off to anything of that for most of my life, really, Brandy, until meeting you, until reading your book.
Yeah.
And when I read your book, it was just, it all made sense. It all hit home. It all resonated as this is it, that she's telling the truth. This is not all evil. It's part
Yeah.
of that systemic programming that anyone like me was a part of. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've come to have a lot more respect for the spiritual realm, for ancestors who have passed, and my great cloud of witnesses, for just beings of light all around. So my views changed a lot, a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about you, Parker?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of grew up a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Me and my mom, we kind of, and my sister, we grew up more spiritual. We would always say growing up, like when somebody would say, what denomination are you? Like, oh, we're spiritual. But really, we kind of always talked about like psychics and, you know, spirits or, maybe presences of spirits. My mom and, a couple other people I know have talked to psychics before, and um sometimes they swear by them, sometimes they don't. And from a person who's on the outside looking in, I just I just personally would stay away from anybody who's just trying to just do it for money. I don't know. I just have
Yeah.
a I don't know if it's like I don't know, it's like exploiting your own gift. I don't really know how to just say it the right
Yeah.
way, but the experiences I've had with the psychics aren't very great, because one thing will be said and somebody's life will be based upon that, and it
Yeah.
never comes true ever.
Yeah.
But I do know there are highly advanced psychics. I know that that is a real thing, right? So
Yeah.
I know that having the psychic ability is a gift. Like that is a true thing. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it's not on that end, but the true side of it all, I do know that. And I know that's what um, you know, so that's what I was saying about the about the psychic
Yeah.
part, about everything.
Yeah.
Um Now my mom, she's lived in a couple of houses that have been well, one house in particular that was haunted at one point.
Oh,
So
wow.
she's had some experiences with some like spiritual type, encounters before, some presences before. And yeah, so I'm from the other side. Like I know like that stuff exists, and I've me and my mom have dealt with some of that stuff before, and it's definitely real.
Yeah. So, well, it sounds like you were wide open to all of it, like aware that it existed, aware that it was real, not opposed to it at all.
Right.
Yeah. So that's really cool that, that you were raised in a way that you are open, um, to all of that. And I agree with what you're saying. There are actual psychics, mediums who are gifted in that way. And then because it is such a gift, people exploit it.
Right.
People, pretend and scam people out of their money. And that's really unfortunate because, it's hard to kind of discern, is this person legitimate? Are they telling me the truth? And because there's so many
Exactly.
people out there, offering their services. And I think we can kind of pick up on just using your discernment on how they come across, even if they're charging, because I mean, people have to be compensated for their time, right? I mean, everyone if you're offering a service and it's of value, then you should be compensated for it. But yeah, there's a way to be compensated that is maybe icky and another
Yeah.
way that's not so icky. I don't know.
If
Yeah.
it came true more times than it didn't, then I would say
Right.
differently. But
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Some people are just trying to make money. They're just trying to just scam people out of their money for sure.
right. But
Um,
like I did say though, it is a true gift, and people do have that ability.
yeah,
That's just
yeah,
Brandy, what
yeah,
about you? When you were growing up, like what was your
yeah,
mom like about the whole Halloween thing and spirit
yeah.
realm?
Well, I was raised, so we celebrated Halloween in a mainstream kind of way. I mean, the trick or treating, the Halloween parties, costumes, candied apples, that type of thing. Just very commercialized way of engaging with the holiday. And, I guess I was taught that it was dangerous to mess with anything pertaining to like, Ouija boards, that type of thing, consulting spirits in that regard. Those were definitely considered evil and dangerous. And I'll just say here that I still believe that Ouija boards they
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
dangerous. So that was actually good advice. But as for psychics and mediums, that type of thing, I really wasn't taught anything one way or the other. I guess I just believe that some people were sensitive in that way, and I believe that it was real. Now, personally, I guess it would have made me nervous, and this was not something my family necessarily instilled in me. It was just that I didn't want to be told something scary. And
Yeah.
so I was also a bit weirded out by the idea of spirits in general, like, of the deceased, ghosts, whatever. So, which is pretty funny now considering the way my life has
is.
unfolded. Yeah. But I don't think I got the same conditioning as some who were raised in more dogmatic evangelical homes. I was always allowed to celebrate Halloween. I guess, the general consensus was stay away from legitimately haunted places, like don't try to conjure spirits, stuff like that was warned against. But just like wearing costumes, having fun on Halloween, that wasn't a problem. And I don't think I really even thought much about it until after my spiritual awakening. And I began to, notice how the church demonizes the entire holiday. Because let's face it, the actual holiday is specifically about inviting and interacting with spirits of the dead. So, and that's largely lost in that commercialized Western way of celebrating. But, trick or treating is an example. Originally, food and drink offerings were left outside for wandering spirits on All Hallows Eve.
Mm.
And then later, poor children would go door to door singing and praying for the dead in exchange for soul cakes or spiced bread. And this evolved over time into the modern day trick or treating. But originally, the practice goes back to people
Wow.
honoring the dead with food and drink offerings. And, like you said, the wearing of the mask, the costumes, that was done on All Hallows Eve just because the veil is the thinnest and they were trying to disguise themselves, sort of blend in with the spirits. Yeah. So all of it,
Wow.
is the tradition goes back to communication and interaction with the dead. And I think coming from the modern Western context in general, it gave me a distorted view of Halloween. Like the spirit realm in general, it taught me to fear rather than respect it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But
Yeah.
we always fear what we don't understand. And so that's largely, I think, what's happened in the church. So yeah, during my time in mainstream Christianity, the church, the prevailing message was that any form of communication with spirits was evil, and all psychics and mediums were evil. It was all of the devil.
Yeah.
And it's really ironic considering that the entire Christian faith is centered around spirit. That it just blows my
I
mind.
know, right?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, as I've progressed in my, spiritual journey, I'm finding my own, intuitive giftings that make me look back and think, shoot, if I'd have known this version of myself back then, I guess I'd have been lumped in with the evil, because
yeah,
saying that people who can pick up on things or people who have the gift of eh, psychic gifts, anything in that
yeah.
realm. How crazy to be able to convince masses of people that listening to the power within you is evil.
I know.
Right.
That's
I mean, that's crazy town. Crazy town. Uh, so I think this episode's important because somehow in 2025 we're still like hung up on Halloween and is it evil with churches and all of that. And so I'm excited to talk about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think, I thought it would be a good idea to maybe take a look at what the Bible actually says about consulting spirits. I know we mention consulting spirits, or I do, on this podcast quite a bit because of my own personal lived experience. And we've never really addressed this. And so I thought it might be a good idea to kind of circle back and look at what does the Bible actually say about that.
Yeah.
And so many Christians point to the Bible's warnings against consulting the dead as proof that any engagement with spirits is forbidden. But the English translations have distorted what the original Hebrew was really trying to communicate. The Old Testament prohibitions against consulting the dead are really best understood as prohibitions against necromancy. And necromancy in the ancient world was not simply about communication with departed loved ones, it was an attempt to control and manipulate spirits in order to gain secret knowledge or power. And there are several Hebrew terms used when talking about consulting the dead. There's Ov, which just means ghost or medium. Then there's Yede Ani, and I'm probably not even saying these right, so just bear with me. I don't speak Hebrew. Yede Ani, and it's spirit knower. And then there's, let's see, Doresh El Hamatim is, I think, what the right pronunciation is. Anyway, that word or that turn of phrase is one who inquires of the dead. So those are the words, and those are the translations. So when taken at face value, one could easily conclude that any spirit communication is just prohibited. Like if you read it in English through a modern Western lens, it seems to be prohibiting anything related to, connecting or communicating with spirits. And this is why in Christianity, people who are naturally sensitive, like we were just saying, psychics, mediums, they're demonized. And I can't tell you how many times I heard that, like all spirit communication is just demons pretending to be your loved ones. And mediums are of the devil. And you got to wonder, what did they think prophets are, if not oracles and mediums? That blows my mind. But anyway, so
Or dream workers.
yeah, what did they think? What these people are tapping into the ether, in a profound way. They were gifted. And these Hebrew words for medium have a different context and meaning than our modern English words. And it's more accurately, like I said, necromancy in the Old Testament. And these words actually describe rituals designed to extract hidden information from the unseen realm. So these practices often involved violent or self-harming rituals, such as mutilating or cutting the body, and it's designed to compel or appease spirits. So it's about manipulation and control. It was not about relationship. It was just about control. And if we look at Deuteronomy 14:1, it says, "You shall not cut yourselves or make any baldness on your foreheads for the dead." So clearly it's about some ritualistic cutting of yourself for the dead. Then in Leviticus 19:28, it says, "You shall not make any cuts on your body for the dead or tattoo yourselves." Well, this verse gets distorted into, it's a sin to get tattoos in modern Christianity because they have absolutely no clue about the context. And if you're just taking a superficial reading in English and drawing distorted conclusions, then you'd be like, it's a sin to get tattoos. But it's about tattooing your body for the dead. So it's some sort of a ritualistic cutting yourself, tattooing yourself, marking your flesh for the dead. It's mutilation. It's self-mutilation in order to control or appease the dead. Which honestly, most of what's peddled from pulpits is a distortion. I mean, the true depth and meaning is just largely lost in the Western church. But anyway, what we mean today by mediumship is entirely different than the practice described by these ancient Near Eastern people in the Hebrew Scripture. So what Scripture prohibits is not communion with those who have slipped through the veil, like in a sacred sense, but the manipulative practice of necromancy. It's exploiting the dead to force outcomes and gain secret power. And ancient rituals often included that self-mutilization, the frenzied acts intended to seize control of the spirits, and it was rooted in fear and ego rather than trust in the divine. And the biblical writers condemned this distortion because it was the very opposite of reverence. It reflected a will to dominate rather than to honor. And so if we look at 1 Kings 18:28, Elijah challenged the people to call upon Baal, while he called upon Yahweh. And we're told that the people cried aloud and cut themselves after their custom with swords and lances until blood gushed out upon them. And as midday passed, they raved on until the time of the offering of the oblation. So these people were worked up into a frenzy, mutilating themselves in an attempt to seize control of the spirit of Baal to do their bidding. And so to inquire of the dead or consult spirits in an ancient sense was an act of power-seeking manipulation. It was rooted in fear and coercion. Consulting the dead in a biblical sense is about bending the spirit realm into a tool for human power and coercion. It had nothing to do with connecting with loved ones in an attempt to feel their presence as a comforting guidance. People who lose loved ones and seek out mediums are bereft. I mean, they just want something to hold on to. They want to know that their loved one is with them and not truly gone. They're not trying to seize control over their spirit to manipulate outcomes and squeeze out forbidden knowledge. And this is why we live in an upside down world. I mean, people have no idea what they're talking about, making these rules and using fear tactics to peddle misinformation and keep people under their control. Yeah, so many people believe the nonsense that they're handed without questioning it or studying it for themselves. They think, well, the Bible says, but they don't stop and think that the Bible is a modern translation of an ancient text. So there's a context with these words, that they're written in, and it's largely missed in our Western minds. So the meanings of the words carry the nuance over the cultures and time periods, and we can't just slap a modern definition onto an ancient text and think that we've understood it properly. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've said a
That's
lot.
so
I'm going to
true.
stop there. Yeah.
No, thank you, Brandy. I think it sounds like the biblical message at its core is just saying it's about right relationship. Like, don't seek control over the unseen. Seek communion through love,
Yeah.
humility, and spirit-led discernment. Like, treat the
Hmm.
spirit realm with love just like you would the physical realm.
Yeah.
But I also think it's worth mentioning, you referenced the story about Baal and Yahweh,
Yeah.
that Yahweh runs with Baal, that they're dueling. That should let you know more about what we talked about,
Yeah.
source God versus Yahweh God. These were two demigods, like, dueling with each other and having their people calling upon spirits. I mean, that one I just had to point out because that's one of those that makes the bell go off for me of like, how did I not notice that before? You know?
Right.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing you were saying about the translation part of it all, that is so true. I mean, you can't take words from ancient Hebrew and say like modern day English is just gonna up and translate that word into the exact meaning of what that word was
Oh,
in
yeah.
ancient Hebrew or ancient Greek, or like you could, like you were saying, you could go back to those Bibles, or maybe I don't know, just go back to an ancient Bible and it's a whole lot different than the word is a lot different than what it is today. And like you were saying, like tattoo, that's just a misconception of what that word meant back then compared to what it means today. It's just,
Exactly.
I find that compelling in everything about the modern day translations of the King James Bible specifically. Like
Mhm.
those words, so most, like a lot of those words do not mean what the Hebrew word means, so, and
Yeah.
like you're saying, a lot of people would just churches get misconstrued and
Yeah.
talk about the wrong thing sometimes.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
trying to, read into the text modern, interpretations like what we would consider today what that word means. But, in an ancient context, it had a whole other context, whole other
Yeah.
meaning. And
A
yeah,
lot
and I
deeper
think
meaning too.
yeah, absolutely. Like you just said with the tattooing thing, people they weren't going to tattoo parlors, and getting their loved one's name on their arm or something, as the tattooing that they were speaking of had to do with some sort of a ritualistic power play, trying to
Yeah.
manipulate spirits and coerce them into doing their bidding. So it was definitely something where, like you said, Annalise, the intentions of your heart. That really
Mhm.
everything really does boil down to the intentions of our heart. Like, what are your motives? Are you down and open? Are you operating out of love, or are you seeking to control through fear?
Yeah.
And everything. If we would just do everything from that center of love, then everything would be in balance. Yeah. So, yeah, that really is it.
That really is it. It's crazy that it's that simple. It's really crazy that it's as simple as love. You're here to love, you are love, you're here to be love, you're surrounded by love. If you just love, everything's so great, and people have the hardest time with it. It's ridiculous. But, anyway, moving on. That didn't sound very loving, but it gets frustrating. It gets frustrating.
We'd rather have rules, and
Yeah.
prohibitions and all of those things than to actually,
Just
learn
love.
how to operate out of love. That's right. Love is simple, but it's not easy. And, you mentioned earlier, Annalise, that Jesus spoke with Moses and Elijah, with two long deceased prophets, right, at the
Yeah.
Transfiguration. And there are some people who would say, oh, it was just a vision. But I want to remind people that there were a few disciples that were with Jesus who witnessed it also. And Peter,
Yeah.
he wanted to put up tents so that they could all stay there. He was like, hey, I'll,
That's
I'll
right.
just, yeah. So it was not just a vision.
Peter.
Peter witnessed, yeah. And it's funny, you know, that those who would say all spirits are just demons posing as loved ones, they never seem to think that Moses and Elijah were demons sent to mislead Jesus at the
Right.
transfiguration. And yeah, so I don't know. I just think that it's important to note that Scripture does not deny the possibility of communion across the veil. It just calls for discernment. What's that verse? It's beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see
Test
whether
them.
they are
Test
from
the
God. Yeah,
spirit.
Yeah,
test the
exactly.
spirits. That's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Jesus said you will know them by their fruit. So it's about using discernment in everything, being
Yeah.
aware of the fruit, whether in the physical or the spiritual. So really, like, it circles back to living from love and being using discernment, right? Your God-given
Yeah.
discernment. If life and death are two sides of one veil, perhaps true faith is not in denying the unseen, but in discerning how to engage with it with
Yeah.
humility and trust. I guess that's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, it kind of strikes me like you're saying about the just pastors in general, or just people who don't think about this part. Like, what what are people thinking when there's there's prophets, they get a message from the divine, they from
Yep.
something other than their self. They see a vision in their dream. It's like everything we're talking about, like a prophet is a medium, but yet a medium is evil, but yet the whole entire religion is based off of prophecies. So it's just like, what in the heck
Make it
is
make
this?
sense.
Yeah, exactly. We're picking and choosing here. Like, this is
It
Yeah.
crazy.
seems like the Bible's cool if men do it, but if women do it, they're called a witch. Is
Oh,
what
that's a good, yeah.
is
That's
what I've picked up on. When men are
Yeah.
prophets, when men are psychics, when men are dream workers, it's such a gift from God. But when it's a woman, it's a witch, you know, burn her eventually. And
Right.
that's pretty gross. But but I think we need to rebrand witch as well because
Yeah.
we have the Bible saying witchcraft an abomination to God, witches and darkness this and but what does that really mean? Because it seems like you can call somebody a witch who is practicing like herbal medicine in their kitchen. That's a kitchen witch, or a green witch, or or somebody who likes to charge their moon water and do their crystals. You can call that a witch. Well, these aren't evil things. These are natural, God ordained modalities of healing. So
Mhm.
I just find that interesting. It's a prophet if it's a man. It's a witch if it's a woman. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. I just had that conversation with my friend Allison on Spectral
Yeah.
Symposium podcast. Yeah. We just had a witchcraft episode and we
We
discussed
did.
that, and the word for witch that is translated witch in English, I can't remember exactly what it is in Hebrew, but it means evil sorcerer, poisoner. So it
Wow.
definitely has to do with using potions, poisons, to manipulate people and mind control people.
Yeah.
And then in the Greek, like the New Testament, the Greek, the word is pharmakeia, which
Mm.
is the root. That's where we get the word pharmacy. And the
Yeah.
irony is rich when you think about it. The
Mhm.
big pharma, the pharmaceutical industry is doing exactly the thing that is prohibited in Scripture, and yet people
Yeah.
are wide
Creating
open to that.
potions.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they want to burn witches at the stake. So yeah, I mean
Burn 'em.
the irony is rich when you really think about it. Yeah.
Pe People are just ignorant.
We need a rebranding. We need a rebranding.
Yeah.
Pharmaceuticals call it witchcraft. Witchcraft call it healing arts, and
Yeah.
and prophecy. Like the men get to be called. Yeah.
Mhm. I think
Yeah.
also I think a lot of times in the church, or this is the kind of the distinction that I always kind of heard, was if it was from God, then you're a prophet if you are a channel of God. God is speaking through you. But if it's any other spirit, like if you were to say you were talking to any other spirit or channeling any other spirit, then that is completely evil. And then their line of thinking, there's God and messages from God, and then everything else is the devil. So there's just kind of no in between, no nuance there.
Yeah. Not ever getting that there's messengers that God sends, angels,
Yeah,
higher dimensional beings.
that's
Yeah,
right.
God speaks in many ways.
But don't listen
Right.
to yourself because God you can't
Yeah.
hear God that way. You know,
Yeah,
it's just like, oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah.
I'm
They're
like,
waiting for a voice out of the, like out of the ether, or somebody to drop down out of a cloud and say something, not
Yeah.
realizing that, the voice of God comes through you.
yeah,
If you still yourself, you hear from God, right?
exactly,
If
exactly.
you're a channel, we're all supposed to be channels. We're all supposed to be antennas picking up the frequency and the messages of God. We're
Yeah,
all made to do that. That shouldn't be a demonized power of a select few. That should be something everybody wants to do. That's what
yeah,
you're made to do. That's what Christ told us to do. To purify this channel so much that God can just speak through it. And it's just wild how the systems have actually made people think that that's the darkness, and
yeah,
everything else is the light.
And you
yeah,
know what you were saying, Brandy, about Halloween being a Celtic tradition in itself. I mean, I guess maybe early Christianity called it paganism. The Celtic tradition was their culture's tradition of celebrating Earth, celebrating Gaia and the seasons and stuff like that. It's not what you're thinking of, like people wearing deer skulls and like praising the devil. Like that's not what it
uh,
is. It's what you were told to believe. Like pagan, it's pagan. Like it's
Yeah.
not. It's literally that culture celebrating source in the way that they knew how and the way that resonated with them the best.
Mhm.
yeah,
Church, the ancient Catholicism church is what demonized paganism and got their people and their armies to go ape shit over foreigners, Vikings, people like that coming to their land, and they're saying pagan, and it was just another word to demonize another group of
Yeah.
people that wasn't Christian or, Catholicism or whatever, And I guess what I'm getting at is like those pagan traditions, if you look at them, they're trying to connect the source is what it is.
yeah,
Through what you were saying with the fires and the jack-o'-lanterns and stuff like that. That's exactly what they're doing. But,
Yeah.
it's demonized and you're thought to think that paganism means devil worship. So,
It's like a way to express this transformation that the seasons are going through too.
right.
The
yeah,
shedding of the old self, the dance between the seen and the unseen. Like we're doing what the seasons are doing if we are connected to God. And isn't that what
mhm,
they were kind of all about? Like in their this Celtic
Well,
pagans.
yeah, that's what I was
yes,
trying to
I
do.
mean,
Yeah.
they're trying to be one with God by being one with nature and shifting with the seasons just as nature does.
Yeah.
Because you
yeah,
are nature, we are nature.
Celebrating the seasons. Yeah.
So, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, and also I think that's why Constantine combined paganism with Christianity, with Judaism, because so many were pagans, because so many were this tradition, knowing these rhythms with nature and knowing how to move with it.
Ancient knowledge.
yeah. That's it exactly, 100%. Because those people, like you said, Parker, they weren't worshiping the devil, or doing anything sinister. They truly were trying to honor their ancestors and
Hmm.
hold space for that season of going inward. It was, the harvest season where things are dying off.
Yeah.
And, it was a time of death and rebirth. So we go through this winter solstice. And so, like you said, Annelise, they're just keeping with the rhythms of nature, the natural rhythms of life. And so, yeah, they weren't worshiping the devil, they were honoring the sacred. And so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of really it's truly saddening to see how twisted it has become.
Mhm.
And the church really ripped off all of the pagan holidays. They stole
They
them
sure
and
did. Yeah.
revamped them. So
Yeah.
they're doing the same celebrations, they're just, doing them under a Christian label. And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we have the sanitized version over here, and this is okay. But if you participate in that over there, it's pagan. We have labeled
Yeah.
it something
Mm.
now, and if you participate, it's evil. So
Right.
yeah, just more labels, more division, more exclusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandy, what was that thing you posted today about how you don't, or not today, the other day, you don't even have to go to a haunted house because
Oh
of
yeah.
how, you grew up already
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
haunted. How though? Like, what did that say? Because I thought that was so funny.
Oh gosh, let me see. I'll pull it up and I'll just because I can't remember. I shared it. It was from someone. Let's
I'm
see.
sorry to put you on the spot, but it
No,
felt
it's
like it
fine.
fit right
Yeah,
there.
we need to
You
include
can
this.
clip
So
this part out.
April A. Joy. she posted this, and so like I'm sharing from her, I'm reposting what she said. But she said, I wasn't allowed to go to haunted houses as a kid, but between hell houses, rapture movies, and believing I was under 24/7 heavenly surveillance and that I'd have to rewatch my entire life on Judgment Day in front of God and my grandma, I was plenty scared. That's just a little emoji. But yeah, I mean, Christianity is so fear-based, and really people are just really traumatized by all of that stuff.
You
Yeah.
know, I was just thinking, like, we get so caught up in, like, you know, Celtic, whatever, paganism, European paganism or whatever, but Native American, like, people seem to give, like, the Native Americans a pass when it comes to this kind of stuff. They don't call them anything. So when they have their, like, big celebrations on, like, the same kind of holidays, they're not considered pagan. They're just doing their Native American celebrations, you know? But
Yeah.
every culture has this because it's all part of the seasons. It's all part of the harvest time, and then go into the winter solstice time. Every single tradition, every single culture you have ever known in the past that you ever will discover did this. I promise you. It's written in their stones, in their clay tablets. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. And just because one sect of modern day, within like the past 2,000 years, group of people said, you know, that is wrong, that is pagan, you know, that this has been around a hell of a lot longer, by far. Trust me. They've found stones like on Göbekli Tepe or whatever. They found them buried. They're like 12, 15,000 years old, that correlate with the seasons and with the changing of the seasons, you know, in the stars and all that stuff. It's amazing. It really is. It goes back so far.
This conversation would not be complete without mentioning the Witch of Endor. You guys familiar with the Witch of Endor?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm not,
Yeah.
so I'm interested.
Okay. So, well, yeah. So in 1 Samuel 28, there's the account of Saul, King Saul, inquiring of his dead prophet Samuel through a medium, and it's referred to in some translations as the Witch of Endor. So Saul has gotten so off course that Yahweh will not even speak to him anymore. And his prophet Samuel has died, and he's being surrounded by an enemy army, the Philistines. And he's afraid, and he wants to shift the narrative. He wants to prosper, of course, but Yahweh isn't speaking to him anymore. And the text literally says Yahweh would not answer him through dreams or Urim or prophets. And Urim was a divination tool worn by the high priest. It consisted of crystals of some sort. It was worn on the breastplate of the high priest, you know, garb, but we don't really know what it was. It's a bit of a mystery, but it was used along with casting lots in divination. Anyway, Saul is desperate to shift the narrative in his favor. He wants to control the outcome. He wants divine intervention and secret knowledge to help him succeed. So he goes to a medium and to consult Samuel. And Saul had made consulting the dead illegal, so it was punishable by death. And because Yahweh wanted his people only consulting him through the high priest, it was just, you know, it was off limits. He didn't want other people attempting to bend reality to their will through the manipulation of spirits, which, you know, that was the prominent practice among the peoples at that time. So, and also, like Annelise said, remember that Yahweh is an advanced intelligence being, not source God. We talked about this in earlier episodes. So if you missed those conversations, I urge you to go check them out. Actually, I'll just drop the links in the show notes. So anyway, Saul disguises himself to trick this lady into conjuring up Samuel. And when she sees Samuel appear, she is so horrified because she realizes immediately who Saul is. She's like, oh, no. Well, she's, you know, and some people would say, oh, she's surprised because she's not expecting to really have a spirit appear. No, she was surprised because when she saw it was Samuel, she knew she was sitting in front of her across from Saul. And she was horrified because she thought he was tricking her into doing this so that he could punish her, right? Because like I said, it was punishable, you know, by death. But he assures her that she's not in any danger. He's not going to prosecute her for doing this. So they proceed, and Samuel does come forth, but he's irritated that Saul is bothering him. He thinks, damn, I done died, and I still can't get away from this guy. So he tells Saul basically that he's screwed. He says, Yahweh has torn the kingdom out of your hands. and you will be destroyed. And tomorrow you and your sons will be here with me. Well, as you can
Oh,
imagine, Saul is undone. He's terrified. He fell out on the ground in fear, and which I think is a reasonable response, all things considered.
yeah.
Anyway, the entire exchange serves to prove that consulting spirits is entirely possible from a biblical perspective, right? Saul himself did it, and it's recorded right there in the Bible, but you rarely hear anyone mentioning this in sermons. I mean, and if you do, they like to say it was a demon that came through and talked to Saul. But that's nowhere in the text at all. In fact, it plainly and clearly says that it was Samuel, Saul's prophet, that came forth. And Samuel is telling him the same thing he told him in life. He said, "You've fallen out of favor with Yahweh, and the kingdom's going to be torn from your hands." So to say it was a demon posing as Samuel is to add something to the text that just isn't there. And I've also heard people say, well, Saul died because he consulted spirits. He went against God. He consulted a medium, and so God struck him dead. I just want to point out that if your God is striking people dead when they get out of line, then maybe you should reevaluate your beliefs about God. But more to the point,
Amen.
Saul was going to die anyway. He was already way out of line with Yahweh's orders, and destruction was imminent. That was precisely why he was conjuring Samuel. He was desperate because he knew he was at the end of his
Yeah.
rope. He was hoping Samuel would turn things around for him, just give him a way out. Anyway, it's there, plain as day in Scripture. People just
Yeah.
twist themselves in knots trying to explain that away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not many point out that Samuel actually showed up. I mean, like it worked. Like you
Yeah.
can communicate, you can send messages to your loved ones or your, deceased if that is what you want to do, because spirits are spirits. They can be in our realm and theirs.
Yeah.
So it's not a story about fake witchcraft, like you said, it's a story about desperation and disobedience. And I guess ironically, it shows that the spiritual veil is real and that connection can occur.
Yeah.
But it's about intention,
Yeah.
heart posture and spiritual authority, not,
Yeah.
like you said, not about just jerking around the spiritual realm and trying to use them or conjure up harm for someone else. That's a whole
Yeah.
different ball game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brandy, as you are the one of our team here who does spend a lot of time in that spiritual communication realm with your loved ones through the veil, can you give us kind of a backstage experience of what this whole thing is about and just some of your experiences?
Yeah. So, well, I've been communicating with my grandmother, sustained communication for almost 4 years now. And it's always the Christians who push back with how, oh, it's just really demons posing, as my grandmother. Um, and if it's a demon, I mean, really, pretending to be her, it's playing the long game here.
Mhm.
All of the communication from the beginning until now has been continually laced with love and rooted in truth. Her motive in pushing her way back into time and space has always been about bringing healing and wholeness to her family members, her loved ones. She apologized for some past hurt. She reconciled, some family members, spoke into situations in a way that stopped destructive patterns. Her communication literally saved lives. And on the anniversary of my bulldog Luke's crossing, she reached out to me with words of love, reminding me that he's always with me in spirit. And she could see that my heart was heavy, and she gave me words of comfort that really helped me all day long. Not the work of demons, to be sure. She told me what my dog Clementine was allergic to alleviate her suffering, saved me money. I could go on and on. I really could just keep listing examples, but I'm just going to stop and just say communicating with my grandmother through the veil wasn't something that I facilitated. Like none of us were attempting to pierce the veil or connect with spirits. She pushed her way back because of her great love and devotion. And it's been a tremendous gift. And the insight that she brought concerning the afterlife, the theological and philosophical dots that she connected for me personally have brought about deeper transformation. So it's not about information, it's about transformation. For me personally, my grandmother's continued presence in my life makes me a better person. It truly does. And love is the center of everything that she has communicated. The answer to every question is love. And if people see this communication as the work of the devil, then something is really twisted in their definition of what is of God and what is of the devil. Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe to them who call evil good and good evil." And I'll just get off my soapbox here by saying life is far more nuanced than black and white religious answers. It just can't hold space for all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I
Yeah.
I want to kind of speak up here and just reiterate what you said, that everything that you've told me that I've heard that comes from the portal is of love and guidance, and clearly somebody who wants you on your highest life path. And a little while after we met, you were kind enough to let me experience a conversation or two at the portal. And there's so much I could say, but all I'll say, I think, right now is that it has been an abundant blessing, and has saved lives in other ways in my family's life. And I'm just a friend of Brandy's granny. So, I mean, Granny's spreading the love to other people. And this is not something I ever thought I would be open to. Brandy offered this to me, and I thought about it, and I thought through all the things we've talked about, consulting spirits and discernment and
Yeah.
da 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 da. And as I'm experiencing it, it's just that discernment only picks up on love and authenticity and peace, and that this is something for my highest path. This is a gift from the divine, obviously. And like you said, if these were demons, they they wouldn't be being quite so helpful and loving.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't reflect on your conversations and the information you've gained with such gratitude and blessing. Um, these are these are loved ones saying things that only your loved ones know, and that same goes for me in my conversations. Things that you walk away and it's just, this was undeniable. This is clearly of light and goodness and of truth. And it blows my mind that it's even possible. It still blows my mind, but I trust it. I trust it. And it's like you said, it's just an abundant gift. So I just want to say all that just to give people a peek into someone else out here in the real world who has experienced this. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing, and it is a gift.
Yeah. Thank you
Absolutely
for
right.
saying all that because, I mean, truly, it is a gift to me, and I'm pretty outspoken about it. I mean, at this point, everybody knows, that I
Yeah.
communicate with the other side, but other people, maybe have some reservations about coming out and saying that publicly or whatever. So I appreciate that you would share that first and foremost.
Well,
And
thanks.
yeah, it's definitely that's the thing. You feel, in your knower when something's evil,
Right.
and if it were a demon, it would be stirring up dissension, creating,
Mhm.
all kinds of chaos and havoc in our lives. And that's not the case at all. It really, for me, it's like I said, it makes me a better person. It makes me want to live from love.
Yeah.
And so I just that cannot be the work of demons. And really, if it's fear based, if it constricts, controls, or coerces, then that's not of God, right? We know that's not of God. And if you want to align yourself with God, just align yourself with love and truth. It's really that simple. And the irony is rich when you think about it. Most of religion and all of the dogma that would tell you, oh, don't talk to spirits, it's always a demon. It's very fear-based. It's very constricting and controlling and coercive, right? It's the antithesis of love is what it
Yeah.
is. So, yeah, the very doctrines used to speak against what you and I are sharing here are in and of themselves not of God. So, I mean, they're very, the antithesis of what is love. So, yeah.
Right. Well, it's fascinating, and it's just it's been such a gift to us
Yeah.
to have this cosmic gift through your friendship. And
Absolutely.
I thank God all the time for that, because it's something people, you just don't even imagine it could be possibly real. And yet there's this part of me that always knew it was, that of course
Yeah.
there's a place, of course there's a spaces where the veil is thin enough that spirit can energetically communicate what it's needing to say, for the
Yeah.
loved ones left behind. So
Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you.
yes, thank you. And like Annalise was saying, it's been a great gift. It's Like, I
Don't
mean,
get emotional, Parker.
no, like you could try and find something that could be like AI or it could be something, but this is not. It can't be because the conversations I've had um, with the portal, it's just something that you will never be able to know outside of yourself. Or really, I just say this one conversation me and Annelise and Brandy were having, just something crazy happened outside of our house, and they knew about it before we did, and that was amazing. It was I can't even really go into details of it, but it was just amazing. It was something they knew about before we did outside of our house, so
Yeah.
It was especially a gift to me earlier this year because my grandmother passed, and like I've mentioned, she wasn't just any old grandmother. She was my angel. She was my best friend, and if I had not had the supportive words and the loving like reassurance from you through that connection to the portal, it would have been a way more difficult loss to get through, I think, than I might have could have handled at this time. So it was a gift there, and through it, I was able to literally see my grandmother to the other side, like hold her hand all the way through, and to tell her at her death, "Come find me. There's a place. You're not going to be alone in this transition." And I'll just share this, and then I'll stop because it's getting too detailed. But but after she did pass, Brandy let me call, and we talked at Granny's, and she did come, and she said, "You told me to come and find you, and I did." And
Yeah.
that was just wild because that's what I whispered to her. I said, "This is gonna sound insane, but I don't know how you're gonna find it, but you're gonna find it. There's a place, there's a way to push yourself back. There is communication. There is." And she was shocked to find out there actually is, but what a gift it was for me, but also for her because that was a unexpected transition for her.
Yeah.
And everything else we're just gonna have to put behind our Patreon wall because I'm
yeah.
already talking to it too detailed here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what both of you are kind of saying is that they know things that no one could know. It can't be AI because they could
No.
literally read our thoughts in real time. And they also can tell us things that, I mean, there's no way anyone could know that this is going to occur in this manner. And I mean, the future is fluid. So it's not like predicting the future, but certain things have a certain flow to them. And they can
Right.
see that flow. And so, yeah, they speak into things in a way that is absolutely, when you experience it, there's no doubt, in your knower that is absolutely real and true, and that it's laced with love just because of the compassion and the truth. And that's the thing too, that there were some unhealthy patterns in some people's lives that my grandmother spoke into in a way that brought a lot of restoration. Well, a demon would want those people to just stay in those unhealthy patterns, right? Run yourself in the
Yeah.
ground,
Yeah.
and not my grandmother. She was, I mean, adamant about the importance of, course correcting. So speaking truth in love, and that's what it's about. So everything about it has been helpful, um, and comforting. That's what you were saying too, Annalise,
Yeah.
that it would have been a much harder situation to lose your grandmother if you had not
Yeah.
had the communication through the portal. So Granny has been a tremendous gift to me personally, but to so many others too. And she loves you guys. So yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
we love Granny.
we
yeah.
love her. Her spirit is felt and appreciated, and I love how our loved ones, Granny especially, are still at work in our lives so potently. And even the Bible says that you're surrounded by a great cloud of
Yeah.
witnesses. And
Well,
and in the Orthodox Christian faith, they're more about leaning on that great cloud of witnesses and kind of sending out messages, prayers, if you will, to them. Help me through this. And knowing you now, I know they're literally doing that. They're literally, your loved ones are actually helping you through your life since they're crossing, and they're
yeah.
with you, and they're able to come and go as they please. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I tell Granny all the time, I'm like, "You have your hands full, don't you? We won't leave you alone." We're always, looking for comfort from her. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
It's not like she's gonna tell us what to do or solve our problems or make things go away. It's just knowing that she's there and that others are there. I
Yeah.
was having surgery one time, and I'm at the hospital. I'm, prepped for surgery. I'm sitting there waiting to be wheeled back. And, I still had my phone, and my aunt texted me. And it was a picture she took of a printout that came out of the printer because, as I've communicated in other episodes, my grandmother can communicate through electronic devices, printers being one of the modes of communication. And it was a picture that, of a printout that said, "Tell Brandy we are with." Well, I
Mm.
mean, it was just deeply comforting, to know. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew anyway that they're always with me, but that they thought enough to print that out and, and she sent it to me. It just meant a lot. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just and when you open your heart to that, when you know that they're with you and you honor your loved ones, like with the Day of the Dead or, on All Saints Day or whatever, however you'd like to celebrate, light a candle, cook a meal, whatever it is you do to honor them, then that opens the channel for them to communicate with you. If you never think of your loved ones, or if you're not stopping and pausing to honor them in some way, thank them for their presence, then you may not get many signs or whatever because you're not open
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. I never thought of it that way, that it's when I became open to it that I couldn't stop getting the 1111s all over the
Yeah.
place and the signs, and had to find out that was them trying to just tell me, "I'm with you. I love you. You're on the right path."
Yeah.
And then once I'm open to that, I get more, and now I get uh sometimes potent presence drop-ins from my grandmother where I know she's with me. I feel her presence as if she was there in the physical. And it could be going down the road in the car, sitting on our bench, in meditation, whatever. She pops by. And now that I'm open to it, I recognize that frequency, that energy as not, at first I recognized it as deep, deep sadness and missing her all of a sudden. And then I realized, no, that's her visiting. Like that's a spirit just checking in, just being with. So I think, in Christianity, there's just not a lot of room for honoring our past loved ones in this way, or keeping not just keeping their memories alive, but knowing that they are working things out for our good alongside God, or part of
Yeah.
God's team. There's a lot more to God than just the idea of some man in the sky. So um
Yeah.
I just think, and that's how I'm trying to frame Halloween now, is
Yeah.
Day of the Dead, and even that sounds creepier than I'd like for it to sound. More like just day of remembrance, for my loved ones who I know are active and living in my life, and all of our past loved ones active and living in all of our lives.
You say
Yeah.
it the Spanish way. It was like DMO.
Dia de los Muertos
Yeah.
That's it.
is how Coco, Miguel in Coco says it. That's one of our
Yeah.
favorite movies, and it's beautiful, and it's where I'm getting all my Dia de los Muertos inspiration this year.
I love it. I still need to watch that movie. I still haven't seen it.
Oh, you'll love that.
You
Yeah.
will.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
so cute.
know.
It's beautifully done, beautiful music, beautiful storyline, very, very mystical.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I got to
called
check it out for
Coco,
sure.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, I keep, people recommend it to me. And I guess, because of my communication with the other side, they're like, "You're going to love it." But I've yet to see it. So I got to check that out for sure. Maybe I'll watch it this month. During this month, I try to unplug a little bit and
Yes.
follow that internal withdrawing. See, that's the thing. Our whole calendar, our new year is not the Celtic New Year is Halloween.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's, and that really should mark the new year. And so we're going into this, this season of withdrawing. And so for me, it's
Mhm.
about letting go of what is not serving me and inviting those
Yeah.
darker days like the cold weather, letting it, facilitate more snuggling in, more reflection, less external distractions.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I think, I think we should, as a culture, as a collective, it would be helpful if we all made it a point to really stop and honor the seasons in that way. We rush through like Christmas, and well, there's Thanksgiving and Christmas, and everything is so hectic and chaotic. And
Yeah.
it's really terrible because this time of year is the time to unplug. all of nature does it. All the animals are hibernating. They're
Yes.
resting, they're storing up, and we are out here frenetically running around, buying, shopping, and commercializing
Yes.
everything, and it's not healthy. It's just truly not healthy.
Yeah, I want to say this. What you were saying, like before the Gregorian calendar got implemented uh worldwide for the most part, every everybody's New Year started, well, maybe not the Chinese, but everybody's real New Year started at this time. It's not like we have it where it's the New Year in January because everything is hibernating, and then the spring is the New Year.
Yeah, I think it's that the Celtic New Year celebrated at Samhain, which that falls on October 31st to November 1st. So that is actually, as far as the Celtic calendar goes,
Okay, gotcha.
it's the Celtic New Year.
I think too, when approached like consciously, Halloween can become sort of like a reminder that shadows exist, but so does light, and they exist together, and they're a part of the same whole. And also, just like you said, resting, hibernating, slowing down with the seasons changing, like the leaves, changing and letting things fall away that don't serve you. And our son asked me the other day, why don't people hibernate? The bears are about to hibernate. Why don't? And I said, well, I do. I need so much sleep. I do. He laughs because he knows I need as much sleep as a mama bear. And but it made me laugh and tell him though we should hibernate. We all need it. We all
Mhm.
need it. That we should reflect the seasons. Um, so yeah, I think that's how I'm trying to honor Halloween a little differently this year, a little more consciously. Is
Yeah.
is reflecting the seasons and honoring my loved ones.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. And yeah, I think, we like to ban things. That's the thing. And instead of, sitting in the middle of something and holding it with equanimity, we like to just ban something. And
Yeah.
that's, like a lot of the Halloween stuff. Like you were saying, there's good and bad, there's shadow and light, and you have to learn how to engage that in a balanced way. Yeah, it's super unhelpful to just write things off because you could engage with darkness or something bad could happen. Well, I mean, anytime there is a gift, anything that is of light, there's always the counterfeit, and there's always the opposite, right? Because we live in this world of duality, and so there's always the potential for evil in every situation,
Mhm.
and even in church, there's the potential for evil, and we see it. It
Mhm.
plays out on the world stage all the time.
That's right. But if you're
Yeah.
living in fear of evil, you're living in fear. And if you're living in fear, you're not living in love.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like you said, the church teaching from such a place of fear, there is nothing to fear. All is that one consciousness, and we're all a part of that. There's nothing to fear. It's all made up. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, just throw it away. Live in love. Love, it's just not hard. They make it so hard, but it's not actually hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got any
No,
wisdom?
no, I think y'all said it all.
Look at that, Annalise. We used up all the wisdom.
We used up all the wisdom.
All right. Well, I
Well,
guess before we close out today, I want to remind everyone about the community side of Transcending the Rabbit Hole, the Burrow. For only $10 a month, you can support our endeavors and have early access to bonus episodes, live deep dives, a private Facebook group, and monthly Zoom meetings. You can sign up through our Patreon. The link will be in the show notes below. As of right now, our monthly Zoom meetings are the last Sunday of each month at 6 p.m. Central. So the next one will be October 26th. But we are still ironing everything out, and we're open to shifting the meeting date and time to accommodate everyone. So just let us know what works best for you. We're open to feedback and suggestions. If you haven't already, please follow and subscribe wherever you stream podcasts. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with your friends. Your engagement with our content really helps so much. And as always, thank you all for transcending this rabbit hole with us. Cosmic blessings and peace.
Do you ever grow discouraged by the weight of this world? Does Big Brother get you down with all the lies that he's told? Does the gloom and doom of nightly news haunt your dreams? So you scroll instead of sleep, 'cause distraction is key. But as long as there is still a sun up the sky. I can choose to live on the sunny side. It's somewhere between burying my head in the sand and falling down the rabbit hole again. I was sleeping just fine peacefully inside my American dream, awoken when those puppet strings were cut right off. The evidence you can't ignore, sheriff call you misinformed. I know the truth, but trying not to lose my mind. I'm somewhere between burying my head in the sand and falling down the rabbit hole again. It takes a worried man to sing a worried song, and the state of humankind had me humming alone. Hello, common sense, I'm convinced we've lost our way, sold our attention to the system. Now there's power to reclaim, but as long as there's a heart beating in my chest, I will cling to hope that's true. I will